Howdy, howdy, pals. Welcome back from spring break. Unlike every other student on this campus, there's nowhere we'd rather be. Apart from maybe a romantic cruise with Louis Weisman, that is.
We've got Noah Bullard, Brandon Kratkoczki, and a whole lot more on hand to tell you what's what. So get ready to begrudgingly drag yourself from class to class for a whole week. From Ball State University, The Real Deal starts now.
Hello and welcome to The Real Deal, Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. I'm Logan Sowash.
And I'm Madeline May. Yes, folks, we may have taken a week off, but the world of Hollywood certainly has not.
Hold on, Madeline. Don't we say something like that almost every time we go on break on this show?
Well, what do you expect with a head writer like ours?
Well, a strange fascination with applesauce,
you know
for
what?
one.
That's just a loaded question. Here with this week's Hollywood headlines is Noah Bullard. Noah?
Thanks, Madeline. Over our one-week hiatus, several blockbuster films were released, including the newest Wolverine installment, Logan, and the freshened-up release of Kong: Skull Island. Both movies achieved great success on their respective opening weekends, but time will tell how successful these two movies will be with the release of Disney's modern remake of Beauty and the Beast slated to drop this weekend. On a side note, Jordan Peele's Get Out performed very well at the box office over our week-long break, bringing in upwards of $100 million in domestic totals. And to all of our excitement, Ed Sheeran is set to appear in Season 7 of Game of Thrones. The famed English singer-songwriter will appear at some point for a short cameo during second to last season of the hit show. In other news, Skull Island director Jordan Vogt Roberts has pitched a spin-off from his latest movie that will center around John C. Reilly's character, Hank Marlowe. Though a spin-off featuring a young Hank Marlowe would be difficult, seeing as Reilly is now 51 years of age. Shaun of the Dead actors Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are working on a new project, according to an interview released by Inverse Entertainment. Although there are no specifics yet, Frost has said that their goal is something more along the lines of a ghost hunter-y X-Files type comedy. And to wrap up this week's Hollywood headlines, I'll leave you with something you probably figured out by now. James Cameron has announced that Avatar 2 will not be ready by 2018, pushing the release date for a sequel that's been expected since 2011 back even farther.
Thank you, Noah. I have to say, though, I'm really excited to see Ed Sheeran on Game of Thrones. It'd be really exciting to see that pudgy redhead on TV.
You know, we have our own pudgy redhead for our show, too.
You're right. Here with an album review is Brandon Kratkoczki. Brandon?
My personal favorite record in my collection is a rare vinyl pressing of Shoo Shoo's first album, A Promise. Not only is the record incredible, but the cover is hand-glued, and the record itself is black and labelless, reflecting the darkness hiding in the grooves. You can't say that Shoo Shoo doesn't have a motif. The experimental outfit, headed by Jamie Stewart, has been making daring, out there, dark, and incredible experimental music for quite some time, and a wonderful effect. Albums such as A Promise, Angel Guts, Dear God, I Hate Myself, and their cover of the Twin Peaks soundtrack have covered a wide array of genres and styles, post-punk, acoustic, noise, and synth-pop, just to name a few. The band, arguably the most vital and daring band in the underground, recently released Forget, and I've been digging it heavy. Shoo Shoo's level of consistency has not changed in the least, thankfully, and they still find ways to change up their sound to this day. Forget is an experimental noise pop new wave work of art that I will probably be spinning for quite some time into the future. The music on this record is really the main selling point to me. I'm a huge fan of 80s synth pop and new wave styling, so for Shoo Shoo to return to that aspect of their sound that they explored a lot in the mid-period of their work is really a breath of fresh air. Icy synths hover over these choruses, propulsive guitars pound during the verses, and the bass lines always keep the groove going. Nowhere is this more clear than the lead single, Wondering, which is one of my favorite Shoo Shoo tracks to date, to be honest. It's a propulsive 80s new wave high school dance jam with just an edge of the experimental, with noise popping through in the chorus. Another track that stands out to me is the other lead single, Jenny Go-Go, which reminds me more of a Depeche Mode song than anything, with slightly darker yet still propulsive synths and a killer melody making a wonderful pastiche. The album's opening track, The Call, almost reminds me of their song Apostat Commander off of A Promise, though a dark and kinetic fill synth populates that verse instead of the sparser arrangements of Apostat Commander. The chorus instrumentation definitely draws parallels, though, with the wide-open pastiche of noise and synths carrying an epic feeling. Though perhaps my favorite track musically off of this record, apart from Wondering, is the title track, Forget. It's this really dark, layered, almost funky sound that's extremely evocative and has a lot of varied instrumentation, even throwing in some acoustic guitar. All in all, the album's music is exactly what I would want on an album like this, and Shoo Shoo proves yet again to be on top of the game when it comes to great, experimental, listenable production. The lyrics on this thing are a whole other story. Like many other Shoo Shoo records, the lyrics are extremely esoteric and hard to decipher, yet still lend clues to what we're listening to fairly clearly. We hear Jamie self-deprecate, delve into really disturbing and evocative passages of lyrics, and dive into themes such as sexuality, identity, and romantic paranoia. What I love about Shoo Shoo's lyrics in general is that while they are often really out there and need to be decoded, there's a certain bluntness and emotional vulnerability that really sets apart what they're saying. You're supposed to feel uncomfortable listening to Shoo Shoo, because that's part of the whole aesthetic and the mission statement, to drudge out the darkest corners of your psyche. Everything is delivered in this wonderful vampire warble from Jamie Stewart, which is honestly where a lot of people draw the line when it comes to Shoo Shoo's music, apart from those lyrics. I personally love it. I think that it's this really strong presence, and it helps present the themes that he's singing on the record with a lot more validity. He sounds as if he is a broken person, and that's really necessary when you have lyrics like what you have on this thing. Though sometimes I wish Shoo Shoo would explore different topics and themes than they usually do, I think that what they work with is remarkably effective and emotional, and I always look forward to what Jamie has to say. This record is no exception, painting a dark and desperate picture of a man's mind over top this beautiful, ominous collage of synths, noise, and a whole lot more. If I have any minor complaints about this record, it's that I think there's a couple songs like Choco Banana and The Queen of Losers, and they're solid songs, but they're kind of outliers in terms of consistent quality. This can lead to the album kind of dragging in a couple spots. The band is always ready to snap your attention back with a weirdo synth line or a bizarre lyric. In addition, and this is just a personal preference, I want Shoo Shoo to explore a completely new sound. I'm not saying that they need to make an Angel Guts level shift towards the experimental, but I'd just like to know what other sounds are going on in Jamie's head. We've already kind of heard them do the post-punk synth-pop thing, and while the new wave and poppier elements certainly sound great, it's not quite as fresh as what Shoo Shoo can really deliver on some of their records. Now these are just minor complaints from a longtime fan though. Overall, I really freaking like this thing. It's weird, compulsive, and has those weirdly danceable 80s riffs that I just eat up on a day-to-day basis. Standout tracks include Wondering, my single of the year so far, apart from that amazing Fleet Foxes track, Get Up, an emotional detour into more delicate 70s style pop, The Call, and Jenny Go-Go. I'm giving this record a 4 out of 5 stars. It's really worth your time if you're looking for something a little more out there. Until the next time I talk about ridiculous and obscure music, this is Brandon Kratkoczki.
Thank you, Brandon, for covering the albums no one is ever going to listen to anyways.
Hey, who knows? Maybe Brandon made a new Shoo Shoo out there somewhere.
Yeah, no he didn't. Stick around, we've got Eli Brunsman after the break.
It's my dream for the police force to team up with Batman.
What?
Wouldn't that be better?
I hate everything you just said. Gotcha.
Nice.
Initialize master building.
You want me to forgive him? I want him to hurt like he hurt me.
You want the promise of a pain-free life.
Yeah.
There isn't one.
You can do this.
I can't. Not on your own, you can't.
Rose, we gotta go.
Is everything okay?
Rose, the keys. Just get the keys.
I don't know where they are.
Rose?
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
Mine is a terrible thing to waste.
She's like you. Very much like you.
I am not whatever it is you think I am.
Welcome back. Logan, Are you a fan of romantic comedies?
Of course. I mean, for example, Attack of the Clones. That romance made me laugh until I couldn't laugh anymore.
Yeah, that's not quite what I was looking for, but I'll count it.
Okay.
Here to talk about some of her favorite romantic comedies is Eli Brunsman. Eli?
If you're a fan of romantic comedies, it can be hard to find some that are actually funny. Unfortunately, many romantic comedies tend to be cheesy with some corny humor. So I'm going to suggest some that will actually make you laugh. A classic that I really enjoyed is When Harry Met Sally. The main characters, Harry and Sally, are played by Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal. Harry and Sally have been friends forever, but they fear a romantic relationship would ruin their friendship. Harry believes women and men can't be friends without something awkward happening, and Sally disagrees. The pair gets into several awkward situations, but you'll have to watch to see what happens next. Another romantic comedy that made me laugh is Four Weddings and a Funeral. This movie stars Hugh Grant, which is one of my favorite actors. Grant plays a British man named Charles who runs into an American woman named Carrie at various weddings. They immediately are interested in each other, but things keep getting in the way. Charles is a very awkward man and gets himself into many strange scenarios, which is a perfect character for Hugh Grant's personality. This movie, as well as When Harry Met Sally, was Oscar nominated. The last romantic comedy I want to talk about is Chasing Amy. This movie was written and directed by Kevin Smith, who you probably know from the Jay and Silent Bob movies. It stars young Ben Affleck, who plays a comic book artist named Holden. Holden befriends an unattainable yet beautiful female comic book artist named Alyssa, and he has to figure out how to deal with his feelings for her. I feel like this movie is super underrated, but it's on Netflix if you want to check it out. All of these movies are hilarious, sweet, and entertaining, and you guys should add them to your watch list. I'm Eli Brunsman. That's all I have for you today.
Thanks, Eli. You know, Madeline and I are in sort of a Harry and Sally thing. We're worried that a romance would ruin our friendship.
Yep, that's definitely why I've turned you down so many times. Coming up after the break, Jake Mitchell and Angelo Ariema.
Welcome back, viewers. It's fitting that the last segment was about romantic comedies, but we're about to review one.
Did you even see the same movie that Jake did?
Yeah, I especially love the scene where Wolverine and Professor X did a Lady and the Tramp thing. So romantic.
Wow. Okay, here with the review of Logan is Jake Mitchell. Jake?
I have been an X-Men fan for a long time, and since I was a kid, I found myself drawn specifically to the character Wolverine. I have loved Hugh Jackman's portrayal of James Howlett since I was a kid. I've cheered for him in the X-Men films, cringed at X-Men Origins, and ran around with butter knives between my fingers pretending to be Wolverine since the age of 8. And because I love this character so much, I wanted James Mangold's Logan to be good. It's the final chapter, the send-off, Hugh Jackman's last film as Logan, and I wasn't disappointed. Logan is loosely based off the Old Man Logan Marvel event, which is still one of the most top-rated and most beloved alternate storylines to this day. The film follows an aged Logan who tries to take care of a mentally ailing Charles Xavier and stay mostly hidden from the world. That is, until a new mutant arrives on his doorstep asking for help. One of my favorite things about Logan was how the film was almost like a Western, with a beautiful parallel all throughout it to the famous Western Shane, including how both lead characters, while fighting for the good guys, don't see themselves as one. What also makes this movie interesting is that Logan is a character-driven drama at times and has more gritty and bloody action to it than we're used to from a comic book movie. This film is dark, and there's a reason it's got an R-rated. That's not just because of language and violence. It covers loss, suicide, grief, but at the same time gives a beautiful look at family redemption. Logan is probably one of the most humanistic comic book movies ever. Portraying its lead character as broken and flawed and watching Logan try to face himself in this film was one of the best parts for me. All in all, this movie deserves the high rating it's been getting, and I would seriously encourage anyone even slightly interested to see this film. It's unique, it's engaging, and it's a wonderful send-off to the perfect Wolverine.
Thank you, Jake. You know, that sounds like a lighthearted family affair that anyone can just jive right into.
I'm not sure what that was getting at.
I mean, I'll let my 7 daughters under the age of 10 decide that.
Oh no, I think those children should get out of that household.
Well, how fitting, because here to review Get Out is Angelo Ariema. Angelo?
It's exceptionally rare for a film to come out and be so impactful and poignant, so fitting, and so impactful to both entertainment and to the very world around us in addition. As the horror genre reels and bleeds out from years of maltreatment, Get Out comes to theaters and brings back a fitting return to lovers of the medium. Additionally, and more importantly, Get Out succeeds in bringing about a thoughtful and thought-provoking view on modern-day racism, leading the audience to question the relevance of discriminatory actions in the present day. Now, while I may not be a lover of the horror genre and definitely a cynical, hopeless human being, I would be lying to go out and say that I didn't enjoy Get Out on a multitude of levels. From start to finish, I was pleased enough to not notice any text vibrations or any cries from the annoying and clearly ignorant infant in the back row of the theater. Instead, I was so encapsulated by the acting from Daniel Kaluuya and his co-stars, the fine directing work of Jordan Peele, and the gripping narrative that, although somewhat predictive at times, kept me on the literal edge of my seat for the near 2-hour runtime. The story is simple enough. IMDb describes it fittingly as a young African-American man visits his Caucasian girlfriend's mysterious family estate. Boom, perfect. Intrigue, social commentary, the whole 9 yards. Now, without revealing too much of the plot, things do go from weird to weirder, and the line of realism is perhaps crossed a bit more than I would have preferred. But that doesn't drag this wonderful film through the mud. Instead, the audience is graced not only with a fun, light, and semi-comedic thriller, but also through hours of reminiscing, re-examining, and pouring through online threads, extrapolating the various theories and Easter eggs that you somehow brushed past the first time around. If you are wanting a narrative that will haunt your dreams and keep you checking beneath your bed for monsters, this movie might not be for you. Instead, it's a psychological thriller that is meant to toy with your mind, rather than keep your heart racing or force you to leap from your theater chair in shock or fear. It's fittingly funny, the acting is raw and realistic, and overall, the film doesn't treat you like an idiot, just spoon-feeding you with messages and with having little appreciation for subtlety. It succeeds on all fronts and makes for an exciting night or afternoon or what have you at the theater. In the end, Get Out is an important film, not only for its enjoyable quips and for its tension, but also for the important social commentary that it struts about proudly, sticking a finger in the face of modern-day racism and pointing out its unfortunate relevance, and doing so in an elegant and exciting manner. Although this film is far from perfect, that won't stop me from proudly slapping a 5-star rating onto it and giving it my Film of the Year endorsement as we near the halfway point of March. Nonetheless, we have a long year to go, and I'm sure things will catch me off guard, but at the moment, I highly recommend making your way to the theater and supporting this fantastic film. I'm Angelo Oriama, and I'm going to follow this film's advice. I'm going to get out now.
Thank you, Angelo. Sounds like people should get out of the house and see this movie.
Ooh, sick pun game, Madeline.
Thanks, I learned from the best.
Oh, I'm flattered.
It was not you at all. Actually, no, I was talking about a big book of jokes I had at home.
All right, fair. Stick around for our final word.
Rising in the east. Tell us all the story. Get on the beat. Missed you, man.
I missed you too, Spud. Choose your future. Choose wishing you'd done it all differently. Choose life.
20 years just flown by, eh?
All employees, lend me your full attention.
Hey, it's Jesus.
Your chance of survival increases by following my orders. Your task is simply this. Kill 3 of your co-workers, or we will kill 6 others.
Hey, all the lines are dead.
We need to evacuate the floor.
Mikey, come on, it's a joke, man.
Hey, listen up, everybody. Whoever's doing this, they're having a little fun at our expense.
Siri, why are you so bad at your job?
Logan, you can't talk to her like that.
Why? It's just a phone.
Actually, no, Siri is real.
Madeline, you might be going a bit crazy.
Clearly, you have never seen Black Mirror. It's my latest Netflix binger, but I'm still not sure if I like it or if I'm just so scared of it that I can't look away. What makes Black Mirror different from most shows is that it's an anthology, meaning every episode is a different plot with different characters, so technically you can watch it in any order you prefer. I highly recommend starting with an episode called White Christmas. While every episode is new, the similarity runs in what we are capable of doing with technology. Some of it's a little futuristic, but the name Black Mirror comes from the idea that when your phone screen isn't on, it's just that, a black mirror. So what makes the show scary is all of the ways technology is used in each episode. We're ultimately faced with the question, do we have a moral obligation to technology? Well, the black and white answer is exactly what you thought, Logan. No, it's just technology. But what if we have become so technologically evolved that our everyday devices actually have feelings? What if I'm a robot right now, my real body's at home taking a nap?
I mean, despite that, that does kind of sound like the American dream to me. Hey, speaking of television that you can't look away from, I wanted to talk about a TV show that's getting great critical responses but very little public attention. That show is FX's Legion. From Noah Hawley, the creator of FX's growing hit Fargo, which starts its 3rd season in April, Legion is the television adaptation of one of the craziest X-Men characters to ever be created. He's so crazy that I honestly can't explain his powers in an easy way. His abilities and origin are so bizarre and interesting that you just have to check them out for yourself. The show is about David Haller, played by Downton Abbey alum Dan Stevens, and the new Beast, who is a patient in a psychiatric hospital that was diagnosed with schizophrenia at a very young age. He's been in and out of multiple psychiatric hospitals for a while, almost to the point where he's just given up. Then suddenly, a beautiful and mysterious patient named Sid turns his life upside down, making him start to question his diagnosis. Is he really schizophrenic, or are the voices in his head real? That is the main pull for Legion. And look, I'm just going to say this right now. Unless Iron Fist blows me away this weekend, Legion is the best superhero show on television currently. It might even be one of the best shows on television right now. While the CW's DC shows are doing well and Marvel's TV shows are getting better and better on both ABC and Netflix, none of those shows have captivated me the same way Legion has. It's crazy, ridiculous, that scares you, makes you laugh, impresses you, and boggles your mind because you can't believe what you're seeing. This show has taken a character that no one thought could work outside comic books and created a show that perfectly captures the chaos the character goes through without being strictly tied to any specific stories from the comics. It creates a unique, beautiful experience that I cannot wait to binge over and over again when it's on Netflix, Hulu, or whatever it'll be on in the future. Listen, I'm begging you, watch this show. Please catch up and watch it. It has 3 episodes left before the season ends, and it needs so much love. I don't want this to be a cult classic like Firefly. I want this to be a show that gets awards because, in all honesty, this is the first superhero show I've seen that transcends the nerdy niche audience. Legion is such an underrated character that pretty much anyone, X-Men fan or not, will be going in with a blank slate as to what to expect from it. And believe me, you won't be able to guess the beautiful craziness that unfolds. And with that all said, that wraps up the show for this week. Be sure to check out our website, Facebook, and Twitter pages for news and updates on all things entertainment. I'm Logan Sowash.
And I'm Madeline May. We'll see you next time.